So, guys, a US government shutdown is happening. And normally this would make my eyes glaze over because we've been here so many times before. But I'm going to tell you why this time it's different. And to get me and you through this, here's a panda. Okay, the US government has shut down, and that's not unusual in American politics. The US government seems to be on the brink of a shutdown on a regular basis, but most times Congress reaches a deal that averts it. I think it's hard for people, especially outside the US, to understand why this happens repeatedly and what it really means. Also, this one could ripple much further, not just for US federal jobs, but for the global economy. So, why does a shutdown happen? It's pretty simple. Shutdowns happen when Congress can't agree on a budget. And by law, federal agencies can't spend money without Congress's approval. But it's not just about money, it's also about politics because each side uses the threat of a shutdown to push its priorities. Now, the government's supposed to pass a new budget every year. It's kind of like you setting your household budget for the year ahead. But Congress almost never does that on time. When they can't agree, they pass a temporary extension called a continuing resolution or CR to keep the government running at last year's spending levels while they keep negotiating. Now, if the temporary fix runs out and they still can't agree, parts of the government shut down until they do. And that's what we're seeing now. Practically, what it means when a shutdown happens is non essential services close and hundreds of thousands of federal workers go without pay. This time, that's around 750,000 people, according to the Congressional Budget Office. But by law, they're supposed to get back pay once the shutdown ends. Now, that, of course, doesn't help those who live paycheck to paycheck. So, what's considered non essential? Things like administrative offices, research programs, or parts of regulatory agencies, for example, parts of the Environmental Protection Agency or Food and Drug Administration that handle grants or reviews. National parks and museums usually close as well. Essential services include national security, law enforcement, border control, air traffic control, public health, and military operations. But even in these areas, there could be gaps. The travel sector is an example because air traffic controllers are essential jobs, so they have to show up. But not all the support staff are considered essential. So you could see longer wait times or delays at the airports. Some workers also choose to take time off during a shutdown, so you may have fewer workers anyway. So, how often do we see shutdowns? Well, we have seen many near shutdowns in US history. Since this modern budget process was adopted in 1976, there have been more than 20 funding gaps, meaning the government briefly ran out of money. And more than 10 of those led to a full or partial shutdown. Most of them lasted just a few days, but the longest one in 2018, during President Trump's last term, lasted 35 days, making it the longest in US history. But this one is slightly different. First, it's the first government shutdown in nearly 7 years. Some agencies haven't dealt with one before, so they're not sure how to manage it. Second, the current administration has hinted at possible permanent job cuts, not just temporary furloughs. Third, a new White House memo suggests that workers might not get back pay this time. White House officials say it depends on how the law is interpreted. And finally, the economy. The US is already under pressure from inflation, high debt, tariffs, and global slowdowns. Now, this doesn't affect the GDP right away, but the longer a shutdown drags on, the greater the risk because there may be delayed contracts, withheld wages, weaker consumer confidence, and ripple effects for businesses that depend on government spending. So, where do we stand with this shutdown? We're more than a week in now, and the main sticking point this time is healthcare. Democrats want to extend health insurance subsidies that are about to expire to prevent a jump in costs for millions of families. But Republicans say they'll deal with that later after the government reopens. So it all depends on how long this shutdown lasts. Right now, both sides are standing firm. That's it for now. Subscribe if you want to see more of these explainers. Drop me a comment or DM your thoughts or story ideas. Thanks for watching.